It is finally Friday, and we say goodbye to June today. It's June 30th, 2023, with the icon. I'm sorry, the Micon.
Yes.
Mike Smith.
Thank you.
I'm Dan Ramey, and welcome to our end of the week program.
It's hard to believe. I think June is probably the fastest moving month. It just seems like
Because
it's
everything
gone.
happens all at once.
Yeah, really.
It's like everybody's anxious for the summer to start, and next thing you know, you're going to this event, that event, so on and so forth. And my wife mentioned to me the other day, because this has been a short week for me, with Dan Jr. having surgery on Monday. My wife reminded me last week, she says, you've got to stop doing things on Saturdays. And I said, well, why is that? Because you've got mom and dad's place to mow, you've got Danny's to mow, and you've got Iris to mow. And so when I get home today, the mowing begins because I've got stuff to do on the weekend. So I may have to get home early and do this Mike Smith thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to mow any day I want to keep up with the neighbors.
That's right. Maybe you just need to take a vacation. How about that?
Or maybe
That's a novel thought.
maybe have some of your retired neighbors come to my house and mow the grass for me.
The funny thing about that is everybody around me is retired, but they're paying somebody else to mow their yard.
What?
I think Lee Snyder's the only one that actually mows his own yard other than me. Yeah.
Lee, call me.
Actually, Lee has been mowing for the school
Is that
in
right?
recent years. So I
Okay.
don't know if he's still doing that or
Well,
not.
I'm sure the school could pay him more than I can. So, Lee, don't call me.
Yeah.
All right, coming up in just a bit, we'll get you caught up to date on some of the news topics. We're jumping towards the fireworks season. We're fireworks everywhere, all over the place.
Really?
It's going to be mentioned several times during this show today. Also coming up, we'll take a look at what's happening in sports and this date in history. And frankly, you may not give a darn.
Yeah. 1936.
But we're going to talk about it anyway, coming up in just a bit. But first, let's take a look at the weather. And I'm going to be right up front with this. We've had a change with our weather map on our website, and I can't get it back. Normally, we have this nice big. Well, you've seen it before, unless you're watching for the first time. So we have a smaller map today of what. This is the shortened version of what we usually have.
Yes.
But we can see that there's been some rain. We had light rain across the Scioto Valley last night, but all that is now moving away from us.
Yeah, we actually had a chance of showers and thunderstorms in the forecast for late afternoon and evening. Well, a few minutes ago when I checked again, they changed that. So by the time this program's over, they may change it back. But as of right now, no smoke. Can we
Yay.
hear it? For the winds, yes. The smoke is cleared out for us in this part of the state, although they said northeast Ohio is still under air quality alerts. Chance of showers and thunderstorms late tonight, a high of 86, and there's a chance of showers each day over the weekend with highs in the mid to upper 80s.
I will tell you, if you take a look at our website, littermedia.com, where you will find this weather widget on the side. Underneath it, we added an air quality index measurement, and that's through airnow.gov. And so when you click on that, that will take you right to what the weather is doing in regards to the air quality. So if you want to find out more, check that out on our website, littermedia.com.
I've seen a bunch of memes, pictures on social media over the last few weeks with the air quality, and it's like air quality alert, huh? And they're showing all of the paper mill smokestacks, and the comment is rookies.
I saw a thing. Some friends of mine are opening a business today, and they're selling T-shirts and things. And one of the shirts says, "Chillicothe stinks, and we love it."
The smell of money, they always said. Yeah.
You bet. All right, coming up in just a bit, news, sports, and this state in history, and maybe a Dan and Mike radio moment. We haven't discussed what it's going to be yet, so it may fall before us right here, right off of our lips onto the microphones. Kind of like our show used to be on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
But first, we want to tell you about some folks who help make this program possible. Thank you to Accurate Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, your trusted comfort advisor. As Mike was mentioning yesterday on the program, had to check his air filter in his HVAC system because of the smoke that we've had outdoors. It's good to know that that was keeping a lot of that smoke out of your house.
For sure.
So if you checked your filters, make sure you do that. And if there's an issue, give Accurate a call. Click on this ad anywhere you see it at littermedia.com. It will take you right to their website where you can learn more. News next.
Archway of Opportunities is a scholarship program. It can include the crew members and it can include managers. The scholarship is $2,500 for crew members and it's $3,000 for managers. For my store alone, we've had $35,000 go out just in 1 year. And for all 7 of our stores, we had $66,000 in scholarship funds.
For transportation options in Ross County, call Ross County Health District's Mobility Management Team, 740-779-9652.
This is Andy Tomlinson. When ensuring what's important to you, our agents are there when you need us the most. Tomlinson Insurance, for the best coverage at the best cost. Visit us online at tomlinsonins.com to learn more.
What's making news today on our website, littermedia.com?
Well, as you note from this show, if you paid attention to it on previous occasions, we cover the entire region, not just Chillicothe-Ross County, although our top story is an update to what we were reporting on Monday. City of Chillicothe Engineering Department has announced this morning that due to unforeseen circumstances, the paving work for Water Street, which was to begin today, has been delayed. Now, the milling has been completed from the railroad to Poplar Street, and no parking signs have been removed. Residents may park on the street throughout this holiday weekend. The signs will be reposted, and residents are asked to have all of their vehicles removed from the street by Wednesday, July the 5th at 7 a.m.
And we're convinced that after having the mayor in here on Tuesday, you suggested, why are you doing this before the fireworks?
Yeah. Well, I said, are we going to make sure that the paving is done? And he said, yeah, it should be. So I think it's because of the uncertainty of the weather, but we're going to say it was, I put a thought in his head.
Mike Smith planting a seed.
Yeah, and now the first lady's going to be calling. What did it take to get you to getting to move on something? Yeah. The Litter Media drone has been out a number of times this week, getting a closer look of that air quality index, and you were back at again,
or lack thereof, air quality. And yeah, so I went up to OUC and I thought, let's take a look around for what we can see from Carlisle Hills. So you can see the video on our website. Also on our YouTube channel, and we still have up the video that was there Wednesday, I think it was. I put and that was just from our parking lot. I went up and you couldn't see Mount Logan or anything, so from where we normally can see it. So if you want to see all that, it's available now on our social media, our Litter Media YouTube channel, and our website.
I just had a thought. Could you see the drone when it went up in the air?
If I can't, there's a problem. So we try our best to make sure that we do things the right way. And we don't want fireworks to happen.
That's right.
You know, because of a drone doing something stupid. And this guy right here, he has been messing with fireworks most of his life. Brian Knowles, he is one of those from the Ohio Pyro Guild, Arts Guild, that will be launching a lot of these fireworks displays you're going to see across southern Ohio. And he's done a lot of things, even up in Columbus. And we talked a little bit about what you'll see this year.
Well, Grant Miller is our show designer for the show. They've spent 16 hours last weekend just labeling the shells with the queue number, what mortar they go in, and what queue on the computer system they go on. That doesn't even take into account the soundtrack, where they have to actually place the shells to the music on the soundtrack. He's probably got, I would hate to think how many hours he has in just that. The planning stages, we start planning right after last year's show, you know, what shells we want, and kind of wait for the budget, which we're thrilled to death with this year's budget. Hamburg Fireworks is the company we do the show. They shoot the show for. Great company out of Lancaster. It's a family company. They treat us very well, but they have nothing but the best product.
And
That's
he's
why we
not
like them.
distracted
You
at
know, you
all
can
from
buy a
what
standard
is going
brick
on
shell
behind him. I
that
think
looks
that's
nice
highly
when it
interesting
breaks.
as well, because there's a lot of great fireworks happening behind him there.
Yeah. Now, Brian mentioned Lancaster. And Lancaster and Fairfield County July 4th activities will get underway, as we told you earlier this week, with their parade at 10 a.m. on the 4th. And that starts at the fairgrounds. But that's not all that's going on that day. Then from 12:30 until 10 p.m., the fairgrounds will be alive with amusements, rides, concessions. There will be a secondary stage on the midway showcasing local talent, and then there will be music on the main stage there at the fairgrounds from 8 p.m. up until the fireworks starting at 10 p.m. Now, the rain date for Lancaster fireworks only the fireworks would be July the 5th if they had to postpone it. There's plenty of parking on the fairgrounds, and the gates open as soon as the parade is finished at around 12 or 12:30. Now, we've mentioned a number of communities already this week, but here are some more communities that we've not yet told you about yet. City of Wellston fireworks are tomorrow, Saturday the 1st. Vinton County fireworks will be Saturday the 1st. Jackson's fireworks are Monday, July the 3rd. Athens fireworks will be Monday the 3rd. Oak Hill fireworks will be on Tuesday the 4th, and all of those start at approximately 10 p.m. We'd already told you about Washington courthouses being on the 3rd, and of course yesterday we were talking about Portsmouth. Concerning fireworks, you've probably read about this over the years. Whether you're setting off some of the smaller firecrackers in your yard, or whether you're living in an area where the big fireworks are going off, this doesn't go over very well with some of our pets, our furry friends, especially dogs, as oftentimes they're frightened away. Well, here are some tips that the Pike Pet Pals put out to protect your animals, because a lot of times they run off, and it's hard for the owners to find their pets. So here are some suggestions that you can have to protect your pets from being scared and run off during 4th of July festivities. Did you know that July is National Ice Cream Month? We should have checked with Pat Highland about this.
Yeah.
Well, our friends at Kingston National Bank are sponsoring 3 opportunities for people to get ice cream and visit the Chillicothe Ross Mobile Library at 3 branch locations. You'll be able to sign up for a library card, check out books, use the Bees Wi-Fi, and enjoy a Sunday or root beer float. And there are some of the stops that they'll be making. July 3rd out at Kingston Branch, Adelphi on July 13th, and then July 20th at the Yoctangi Park Armory Building.
This is perfect. I mean, when I was a kid in Pickaway County, growing up from across the trailer park that was across the road from Mom and Dad's, 2 big things would happen during the summertime. The bookmobile would show up, and then another time would be the ice cream truck would come through. This is both worlds brought together and an opportunity to enjoy.
Somebody had a good idea
like it.
there. Somebody
Yes.
had a great
And
idea.
if you've never seen this new bookmobile that they brought out last year, we have a YouTube video of this. So if you go to our Literate Media YouTube channel, just put in Library B, and it'll come right up for you to see the inside and learn more about the bee itself.
Very good. Down in Jackson, at the high school alumni football stadium, they will be having a one-night July 15th revival there at the stadium. Guest singers and preaching from the Linvilles and Calvin Ray Evans. And you're very familiar with Calvin Ray.
Cal's a good buddy, and he is a tremendous evangelist. And I've been involved with them for a number of years. In fact, last week, and we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, but last week someone asked me, I've heard your voice somewhere before. I'll finish that story coming up in a bit.
Yeah, but that's free admission, July 15th. It's a Saturday night at the big Jackson County Alumni Football Stadium, a countywide crusade. But you know what? That place holds about 7,000 people. I don't think they'd mind people from outside of Jackson County coming
Not
down.
at all. And I tell you, this is the best thing that'll happen outside of a Cavalier victory at Alumni Stadium.
Just don't tell Coach Evans that you said that. The community orchestra up in Lancaster provides a rare opportunity for students as well as professional and amateur musicians to sit in with the Lancaster Festival Orchestra. Maestro Gary Sheldon will conduct the concert. You can click on to their website at the Lancaster Festival to get more information, or call 687-4808 to sign up to be a part of that orchestra during the Lancaster Festival. And again, that concert, as you can see there, will be during the festival on July the 28th.
I'll have to pull out the trombone, see if they need
I think they'd love to have you.
if they need a slush pump.
Yeah, that's right. And something special going up at Adena Mansion and Gardens this weekend.
Yeah, they've got their 19th century Independence Day celebration. They're going to have a reading of the Declaration of Independence, all kinds of things, going back to what it would have been like to celebrate our independence in the 19th century. And not only that, they'll have a little project for kids to make your own quill pens, their children's series. That takes place at 3 o'clock on Sunday. And a big event coming up on July 16th, and we had a prelude to this several years ago, but Thomas Worthington's 250th birthday celebration is about to occur. They had a celebration back in 2017 and had an opportunity to MC that. They had members of the Columbus Symphony Orchestra there. It was a banner day. It really was. But this should be even bigger.
And we're going to work on trying to get Kathy in.
Yeah,
to talk about it.
got to get a hold of Kathy Steyer and see if she'd be willing to come in and talk about this.
Very good. So keep that down on your calendar. Taking a look at our road report here in Ross County, thanks to Trustee John Cottrell. He sent this in to us. Trego Creek Road in Ross County will be closed on July the 5th from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. for a culvert replacement near Bethel Road. Plan on an alternate route on that day. Now, we'll be here on Monday, but Tuesday's a holiday. But make sure if you travel that area that you'll know that Wednesday, the 5th, during the day, that culvert replacement will take place. So don't try to get through on Trego Creek Road.
Especially if you decided to be the responsible partier and you've spent the night at someone's house because you had a little too much embellishment of the beverages, and then
Can't get
Wednesday
out.
morning you wake up and like, well, darn, it seems like yesterday this was open.
Yeah, I got to get to work. How am I going to do that? Yeah.
All right, coming up, we'll take a look at sports. We've got some big stuff happening this weekend. We'll share some details with you in just a moment. Wanted to go back to the Cal Ray Evans involvement. Our church was in Homecoming Revival last week, and the evangelist is involved with Cal Ray's church. And the first night at church, I was speaking and everything, and he was sitting close to me, and he says, I've heard your voice somewhere before. Are you on the radio? And I said, well, I used to be. And then before I could say where he might have heard it, he says, World Gospel Mission, the evangelical, say that for me. And so Cal Ray Evans has this radio program, TV program that goes worldwide. I was told by Brian Baer, who is an associate of Cal Ray, he said, we've got an audience of like 44 million people.
Oh, my. Wow.
So when you see that program, you hear the opening come on, and it's me saying, Evangelistic Outreach Center, blah, 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 that's me. And I've had two other instances. One was Mitch Salyers asked me, and this has been 10 years ago when I recorded it, and he says, are you the voice on it? I said, yeah, that's me. And then you and I were in Circleville, if you remember this.
Yeah.
We were in the litter quality propane van, which is covered with flames, propane flames and the whole deal. And we pulled in to Dairy Queen, and there was this lady sitting in the car next to us, and I was getting out of the driver's side. She was in the passenger side waiting on her husband, who was getting an order of Dairy Queen. And she turns and sees those flames, and she goes, "You scared me." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to scare you." And she says, "No, I just looked and I saw the flames of hell." And I'm like, "No, that's not the case." And we got into this conversation, and she turned out to be, her name was Ramey also, but we were not related. Yeah. But she was from Pike County. Mm-hmm. She and her husband support that ministry. And she says, "I was just listening to the radio program," and I said, "With Brian Bear?" And she says, "Yeah." And I said, "I'm the guy that..."
You're the new Cliff Barrows.
It was really weird. And so she was like, "This is too..." And I said, "You're right. It's a small world. It really is." So, and we talked about the Lord for a little bit. So
that's
we had a
good
time.
Not to leave him out of things.
Meanwhile, Mike was getting some ice cream.
I was taking care of the reason I stopped there. Yeah.
We had a good time in Circleville that day. All right, coming up in just a bit, sports and this date in his story. Mm-hmm. Speaking of history. But first, let's tell you about Scioto Valley Dumpsters. If you've got a cleanup job to do, they are prepared to help you with that. In some instances, they'll even clean it up. They do some excavation, too. So give them a call, 740-253-8389. Tell Carl that Dan and Mike sent you for Scioto Valley Dumpsters. Sports next.
As a professional race car driver, I live for speed, power, and performance on and off the track. That's why I use the Dixie Chopper, the world's fastest lawnmower. Race into your local dealership today and test drive a new Dixie Chopper.
Budweiser beer, the king is second to none.
Who drinks Budweiser? You know the type. The people who grind. Those who don't back down. And the ones who don't quit. They say all people are 6 degrees of separation away from each other. But some are just a six-pack away. The people who share the same spirit, share the same beer. This Bud's for you.
At Rathkamp Financial, we provide wealth management services that may ease clients' fears of financial loss and help them retire comfortably. Our greatest satisfaction comes from working with clients for many years and helping them realize their dreams.
Time now for sports, and we have Mike Smith with us to share details.
Well, firecrackers have been a big part of our news today. Is there anything hotter than a firecracker than the Chillicothe Paints right now? They won again twice last night. Remember, they were smoked out because of the Canadian wildfires in Johnstown, PA, a couple of days ago. So they made it up as part of a doubleheader. They won Game 1, 9-5.
4 errors by the Millerites? Yeah. Wow, that didn't help,
They were probably trying to fight through the smoke. And then in the nightcap, the Paints do it again. The Paints 9 in a row, 7-6. Only the Paints had 3 errors, but it didn't cost them the game.
Now, they return home with this 9-game winning streak. They'll take on the Rex Baseball out of Terre Haute. Tonight, they're celebrating the 30th season on the 30th with a 30th season coin giveaway. Mm-hmm. And it's the first party of the Paints, with the Paints, presented by Budweiser, featuring Drive On. So that's the band they'll play afterwards. Then their fireworks display is Saturday night, presented by 94 Country, and Sunday is Kids Day, and kids 12 and under get in for free.
All right. Now, it mentioned also special throwback jerseys. Is that what the players are wearing, or are they selling those?
I'm going to guess that the players are probably wearing those.
So kind of a retro night with the anniversary special going there. So go Paints and keep that winning streak alive this weekend.
Amen.
The Guardians, I didn't know what Minnesota did. KC beat Cleveland by a score of 4-3. The Guardians were a half a game ahead of Minnesota going into that series wrap-up with KC. So if Minnesota won, they would be in first place alone. If they were idle, then they'd be tied for the AL Central lead. Dan's looking at information.
They did not play yesterday.
Did not play, so they would be in a virtual tie for the American Central lead going back into action tonight. Now, the Reds were idle last night. Remember last Friday? Who could forget that wild 11-10 win? Of course, Friday nights they wear their City Connects dark uniforms, which they'll have on tonight as they open a homestand against the San Diego Padres.
Is there a concert tonight also?
That I don't know. I
reason
know
I
they
ask-
had one last Friday.
The reason I ask is the game time tonight is 5:10. That's early.
Then that's very possible. Either that or fireworks or something. I don't know.
Well, usually fireworks, you want it to be dark, so
think.
you would push the game back as
Of
opposed
course,
to
if they're
push it
scoring
up.
22 runs like last Friday,
Yeah,
or
that'd be
21
nice.
runs, it
That'd be
might
nice.
stretch into the darkness. But Reds and Padres tonight. Reds, of course, were a half a game up on the Brewers. I don't even know if Milwaukee played last night. The Reds were idle.
You're asking all these questions.
Well, these
I
things
just
are
gotta
popping
try
into
and-
my head as I'm thinking. I didn't see a Padre or a Brewer score.
Reds and Brewers are in a.
Virtual tie.
It is a true tie,
Okay.
43-38.
So the Brewers apparently did play last night and won when the Reds were off. So tied for first heading into this weekend series.
And the Indians, forgive
Beg your
me,
pardon?
the Guardians. Now this is your virtual tie. You have 40 and 42 for the Twins, 39 and 41 for the Guardians. So
And the Tigers are 4 games out. So
yes,
go Red Legs. Let's, as Chris said a few weeks ago, streaks are nice, but let's focus on winning series.
I thought you were going to say streaks are nice, but not in your shorts.
But not in your shorts. No. So let's focus on just getting 2 out of 3. If we can win all 3, we'll take that too. Because if you win the series in each, I think they've won
And Milwaukee did not play last night.
7 of 8. 7 of their last 8. Is that right?
14 of their last 17.
Well, I mean series. Atlanta spoiled
yes,
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
So
about
that's the real reason. Along
That's
with that
how you
streak.
win. I mean,
Yeah.
you win 2 out of 3, you're going to win 75% of your ball games,
Absolutely.
basically.
So let's keep that focus.
I guess that's if you win 3 out of 4.
When's the trade deadline?
It's usually late July.
Oh, was it that late? Okay, because they've been talking so much about getting maybe some more pitching, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Of course, you can trade before then.
You can trade before then, but if who knows? I mean, these guys are on the IL maybe back before the trade deadline happens. So,
If you remember back in 1977, this is how the Reds got Tom Seaver.
yeah,
They were playing well, but they were just kind of limping along, maybe a few games behind the Dodgers, and they went for the big trade and got Seaver, who had a good season, but they still didn't win the division that year. So
and maybe it's just me, but you see this Abbott kid pitching for the Reds now. Do you think Tom Seaver? And the reason I
Yeah.
said is because he wears number 41. But he's, if I'm not mistaken, had a similar build and similar body motion as well.
Yeah, he's only lefty. And did I ever tell you my Tom Seaver story?
I think I heard it at one point in time, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
It didn't stick with
There
me.
was one year my cousin Jim and I, Jim and I, went to Kings Island, and it was the night of the
yeah.
All-Star game.
And you met his wife.
Well, Tom and Nancy Seaver.
Yeah.
They were right in front of us getting, I think, a soft drink
Mm-hmm.
because Tom wasn't on the All-Star team that year. So and then while he was in Cincinnati, they spent the night with the family at Kings Island with Jim and I. Well, for a few seconds anyway.
Which is almost like Dusty Baker coming to Chillicothe
Exactly,
and bumping into.
We didn't stalk them. Although Nancy, if you remember, she was a beautiful woman. She was in a lot of Hertz rent-a-car commercials at that time. But they were a very lovely couple. Tom has since passed on. I think Nancy's still with us. But great.
Reds
to
Hall
see
of
that.
Famer.
Yes, he is. And his only no-hitter was with the Reds.
Cincinnati Reds.
The night I could have been there, I decided not to go. Mom and Dad went. I do have the ticket stub of the game, but I was not
to
there.
pretend like I was there.
No, full disclosure, I did not go that night. Yeah, Mr. Hermit, and it cost me. Yeah, that was in '78, I think. So So they're sports.
You've probably been to more Reds games than I have.
We used to go
you used to go a lot down
Crosley
to
Field. Yeah.
I never got to Crosley. The first time I ever went to a Reds game was at Riverfront. And back then, it wasn't even with Dad. I did eventually go with Dad, but that day in particular, the late Gene Wilson, who we lost a couple of years ago, Gene was my brother Mike's father-in-law. And they had, through Citizens Bank in Asheville, had season tickets during the Big Red Machine era. And so my first Reds opportunity was to go down and watch the Reds play the Pittsburgh Pirates, Willie Stargell and his bunch, and they scored 9 runs in the first inning.
Wow.
Did the Pirates.
Yeah.
And
they were pretty good in that era, too.
They were. But these seats weren't too bad. It was right behind home plate. We were probably 16 rows back, something like that. Yeah. And you talk about being a young kid, your first time at a ball game, it was awesome.
Right.
It really was.
Now, you've probably been to more Reds games than I have in the last several years, because I haven't been to a Reds game since I was at the radio station.
Okay. And I
because those tickets were free.
I didn't go last year, and I don't think – the last time I was there, I think, was the Reds were playing Pittsburgh again, and Yasiel Puig was playing with the Reds at the time, and that was for my granddaughter Paradise's birthday. She wanted to go to a Reds game. We took her to a Reds game. It rained throughout the day, but Yasiel Puig, this was after he got done warming up in between innings, and I'm like, it's her birthday, sitting next, and we're maybe 6 rows back from the field at the time, and he throws this baseball up, and I don't know how I managed to get a reach, but I stretched and knocked it down, and I went, here you go, happy birthday.
Yeah. She didn't do like the little boy they had on the national news the other day, did it?
No.
Did you see that? This was like 2 weeks ago. The dad caught it. The little boy, he handed it to the little boy, and he throws it out on the field, and his little brother is just like weeping. Why did you do that?
I've seen him do this on the Cubs games.
Yeah.
I thought I was supposed to do that.
But I think the player saw what happened, and he brought it back over and threw it back up in the stands to him.
Well, there was a home run hit by McLean the other night, and the kid in the Baltimore Orioles jersey in the front row caught it. And he was going nuts, just excited. And my wife says, look at that, an Orioles fan, happy about a home run. I said, honey, the percentage of you sitting there waiting for it to come to you, and then, boom, it lands right in your chest. And it's like, this is cool.
Yeah, doesn't happen every day.
And then with as many cameras as there are at games today, it's like, no matter what you're doing, you are on camera right now.
Oh, yeah.
So...
yeah, these guys, I get it why some of them throw the ball. The Cubs they started that, their fans.
Yeah.
But then I saw Reds fans doing it. But you may be throwing a baseball back that was hit by a future Hall of Famer. You never know. So
you don't.
Hang on to that ball. Yeah.
And some of these guys, you don't know. If you're sitting there in the ballpark, and thank you for the announcers, those who are watching it, they're feeding you all kinds of information. That may have been a milestone baseball for that player.
Yeah.
And how often do you see them hang on to it, and that player wants that ball, and they trade things back and forth for you. So yeah, I think when De La Cruz hit his first home run for the Reds, there was a posse of guys who were there in the outfield, and he ended up giving them a bunch of stuff. So that was pretty awesome as well. We've made our sportscast longer than you expected it to be today.
Right.
Surprise, surprise. All right, this date in history is on the way, and maybe a radio moment as well, right after these words from our fine sponsors.
You haven't had vodka soda like this. No one has. Made with the world's smoothest vodka plus real juice. New White Claw Vodka Soda.
Find a career you love with Pickaway Ross Adult Education. Skilled trades careers are in high demand with no signs of slowing down. Pickaway Ross offers career training programs with expert instructors and hands-on learning tactics to create a variety of opportunities. Visit our website for more information.
This date in history we go back to
1936. Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind, one of the best-selling novels of all time, and the basis for a blockbuster 1939 movie, is published on this date in 1936. Have you ever read the book?
I don't read books.
Have you ever seen the movie?
I've seen part of the movie, yeah.
Because it's like a 4-hour long movie. That's one of the downsides. But,
yes.
But you got to watch it at least one time through. But there's a famous line that had moviegoers gasping near the end when Clark Gable said, "Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a hoot." I think he said something else, that the censors let go. Yeah. Because the Hays Commission, which was around at that time, they made sure there was no profanity, no nudity, things of that nature.
Where have you gone?
Yeah.
Could you come
Bring
back,
back
please?
the Hays Commission, right? Yeah.
There are movies you just can't go. There's stuff on TV you just can't watch anymore because of, and we've become so desensitized to it because it's all out there. And I thought to myself, at some point in time, why is it that it has to be in there? Well, because it needs to be as raw as possible, and we've got to be mavericks. And they're the ones that get lauded at these Academy Award shows. And it seems like, okay, yeah, we can go see it, but make yours stand out. Well, doggone it, I'm going to make mine stand out by having it profanity laced.
Yeah. I think that studies have shown this over and over and over, that the family movies that don't have all of what you're talking about by far outgross, as far as money coming in, any other movie that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that movie producers don't know this, but it's more about being politically correct or trying to make a statement. And I get it. A movie like Patton, if you don't have the way he spoke in the movie, you might as well not even have made it.
But there's a point in time, and you and I have both been in these situations.
But I never saw George Patton naked.
We've heard these conversations going on, and it's like sometimes teenage girls are more foul-mouthed than I've ever heard anything.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
In some instances. And I'm not saying that's the kind of thing I go out and hang out around, but there are times where you're at a festival, you're walking someplace, and you're hearing stuff that you shouldn't hear out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what? Does your mom know you're
what's happening to our society?
My mother talks that way, which is part of the
I remember
problem,
talking like that once, and my mom says, "Come here." She was washing dishes at the time, and I said, "What are you talking about, Mom?" And he said, "Come here. I want you to stick out your tongue." And when I did, I got Joy liquid right there on the tongue, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Don't talk like that."
Yeah.
And this was the defining moment for me. We had a group of kids that Mom babysat when I was younger. So my brothers and sister were 10, 9, and 8 years older than me. So when I'm 11, we didn't pal around a lot, play ball and that kind of stuff. Brother Mike did, but that was about it. But neighborhood kids, Mom would babysit. And so we would have wiffle ball games, baseball, all that kind of stuff. We were playing kickball one day. And I decided this was the day that I wanted to be a part of the Navy, because I decided I was going to talk like a sailor, and I did, and I was having the game of my life, the best kickball game performances you could ever have. And I stretched a single into a double, and I slid into second base, and there was, thanks to my dog, Governor, he had placed a T-bone right in the sliding path. That thing went into the side of my leg. Yeah. And so here I've got this bone that wasn't my own bone sticking in my leg. And so everybody's like, "Oh, man, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?" I still have a scar from that thing. My mom stitched me up.
Ooh, wow.
And I promised God at that moment, I am never going to have this be part of my language ever again. Who would have thought that, later in life I would become a broadcaster and you didn't want to have those words on these microphones, So it's just never been a part of my, does that mean I've never said it? I have said certain words, but it's not part of my regular vocabulary.
So now you've brought about the radio moment. My first introduction to the 7 red flag words was my first radio job, WIBO at Waverly.
My first introduction to it was George Carlin.
Well, they had, I mean, as far as the practical, you're working in this industry and you don't say these words, they had the 7 red flag words posted on the wall in the studio.
And I'm telling you, I say what I read sometimes. So that would have been horrible for me in studio to see that.
And I can't even remember what all those words now. So if you listen, if you listen to the radio now, you hear what were some of the red flag words that are being said, and some of the logic of what you can say and can't say. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why I can say this and not that? But it's the government we're dealing with.
Through our time with iHeartMedia, we can thank the FCC for this, I guess, because we were highly educated on a lot of this stuff. We were tested on a lot of this stuff. Now, that doesn't mean that their announcers didn't get away with saying some of these things, but there are certain categories of times of day that you can get away with saying certain words.
Things,
And I thought to myself, well, one of the little tests they gave us was, would your grandmother say it?
Well, that might not be good.
And I got news for you. In the last 10 years, I've heard grandmothers use words that I never thought I would hear my grandmother say.
Yeah, really.
So our morals have changed a lot since you and I were kids.
Well, and if you were watching the night that Homer Bailey pitched the no-hitter.
Yeah.
And what he said over the live television. But because it was on cable.
Cable gives all this freedom.
They didn't. But if you had said that on the radio based on what he said, the radio station, he wouldn't have been in trouble, but the radio station would have been, because they're the ones that are broadcasting it. So
I hearken back to the Yankees and the Red Sox and Bucky Dent. There was a home run that was hit, and the live microphone in the dugout of the Red Sox, Bucky forever became Bucky Dent. All because of that. And how often have we heard an announcer say, we apologize for what our... And you see this in NASCAR a lot.
Right.
The coolest thing about NASCAR is the post interviews. And I'm not talking about waiting until they get into, they're in the heat of the moment interviews. You are on the sideline, and they've tried to do this with like the USFL and these other leagues that have come along, just to give you in the heat of the moment. And we've had that from NASCAR for years. And these guys say what's on their mind. And a lot of them, pay for that in some fashion. But we have done our best to be responsible broadcasters, and I've only had a couple of instances where I've had to apologize for something that was spoken by someone else on one of our microphones.
Yeah. I remember there was a night we were broadcasting at a particular gymnasium, and student body was behind us, and it got so bad. This was back in the 80s. It got so bad, I had to call a deputy over and say, you've got to control them or we won't be able to broadcast the rest of this game, because what they were saying was just, it was sailor talk.
I remember my first time covering a basketball game at OU was OU Miami. You can't get, that's Ohio State, Michigan.
Right.
And so here I was down courtside, and the student body was right behind us. I'd never heard such filth coming out of it, and I'm like, it's a good thing I'm not broadcasting. I was merely there just to cover and write notes and all that kind of stuff, and then go get the post game. But these guys, they would have made it tough on our broadcaster.
And that's why the delay systems came in. If you ever were used to taking your radio to a high school ball game and listening to it live, in the last several years that we were in radio, you were hearing like a 15 to 20 second delay.
And you better hope that the person running the controls for you in the studio heard what, so they could hit the dump button. And that didn't always happen either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So the second line of defense was that board op. So
there you go. Oh, the iHeart Music Festival.
Oh, God.
The first night that we ever ran that, I'm not kidding you, it was after a football game. I was driving home, and it was like it seemed like there were 10-second blocks that the entertainer, they were being bleeped because it was
I can't even remember who it
strewn
was
with
now.
profanity.
It was either Drake or Snoop Dogg or somebody like that, I think. And
I thought, I'm not missing much there.
yeah. And you couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because not that you would enjoy hearing the actual words, but it's like they talk to these people and they say, okay, give us the clean version, would you?
Right. And there used to be songs recorded
with the clean version.
With the clean version, and then there was, if you bought the record in the store, it had the other on it too. So,
and there used to be movies like that too.
That's correct.
How often do you see a movie that you hadn't watched for 30 years, and suddenly, instead of the actual word that was said in Dirty Harry, it might have been, his lips are saying something else, you know?
Yeah, it's funny to see some of that, you know.
Exactly.
Okay.
We have droned on and on and on here
Yes, sir.
today. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your weekend. We are back again Monday, Not in House Tuesday.
Correct.
And
We'll be setting off fireworks.
Yeah, well, I'll probably be busy Tuesday night, and so
You will not be here on the 5th, probably.
I don't know.
He's going. He's off. Because I'll be going the whole next week. You might as well take off. Take the rest of the week off.
Now there's an
Take
idea.
the rest of the week off.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone will be happy about that. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in July here with another edition of Litter Media Live.